listeners. It's your host Awake, and welcome to Pleasure Principles. Here we take you to another journey into the heart of self-discovery, healing, and the growth. So today we are diving deep into a topic that so many of us wrestle with. It's finding yourself after the storm of traumatic relationship and redefining the what intimacy really means. So joining me is the extraordinary Nicolette Nierras. So welcome to the show, Nicolette.
Wow, what a great introduction, Avik. Thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you so much for joining. Yeah. So I'll quickly love to introduce you to all of our listeners before we start our conversation. So, dear listeners, Nicolette is an RTT therapist, transformational coach, and all-around powerhouse of healing the vibes. So Khalid is also known as Nick. So Nick has dedicated her life to helping people break free from limiting beliefs and heal the emotional wounds and rediscover their worth. So her story of going from corporate success to transformational healing is as inspiring as it gets. So if you have ever felt lost, disconnected, or unsure about intimacy, then whether it's with yourself or others, this episode is for you. So get comfy, grab your favorite drink, and let's explore how to reclaim your power, purpose, and the passion. So, welcome to the show again, Nick.
Oh, thank you. Thank you again, Avik. So excited to be here.
Thank you so much. So, Nick, to start with, I mean, definitely, I'd love to know what was the turning point that made you leave the corporate world to focus on the transformational coaching?
Ah, the very question that started everything after corporate. So the turning point was me ending a stint of 2 year, a marriage of 2 years. That was in 2019. So I got married in 2017 and I got divorced in 2019. So that was the whole turning point of me putting myself down and thinking, okay, I am not lovable. At the time, I thought I was not lovable because of the relationship, the failed, so called failed relationship. Because later on, I realized it's actually not a failure because you are meant to be, you're exactly where you're meant to be. So
Like,
that was my turning point, the divorce. Yes.
mhm. Understood. Understood. And also so after ending a traumatic relationship, um where do we even begin the to rediscover ourselves? So what do you say?
You know, I asked the same question to a friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
And at the time, she was like, Nick, I think I better bring you to a friend who reads tarot, tarot cards. Okay. And I was like, at that point, because it was so traumatic to the point where I was lost. I lost my sense of self. Any help that I could get out there, sign me up. So invited that friend to come over and we all had this gathering. And he started pulling cards and I started asking him questions about, so who am I going to meet, who is my next partner, how am I going to find love again. And then so he was pulling cards for me, okay, mind you. But then one sentence he said to me that struck, that that struck like it's like a lightning bolt or flip the switch, was, Nick, whatever it is, wherever that you're gonna go after this, or whichever or whatever, whoever partner that you're gonna end up with, you need to love yourself first. And he repeated this 4 times to me. You need to love yourself first. And I was like, okay, love myself. Well, I love myself. I take myself out on dates, even though it was depressing because I used to do that with a partner. Now I take myself to the movies and restaurants, try new food, dessert cafes, etc. But he said this, love yourself first. So when he said love yourself, I said, what do you mean by that? As
Yeah.
I disintegrate myself, like turning all of the cameras outwards and searching for what satisfied or trying to fill that void that I felt after losing that relationship, I had to force myself to look within. And I don't want to say force because force is resisting, right? You're resisting. Let's just say the universe had its way with me by putting COVID right in front of me. I know COVID was a big thing for everybody, right? But for me, transformationally, it was the year of evaluating what no longer serves me is something that I need to leave behind. And that includes looking outwards. So, starting to love myself means who am I without that partner? Who is Nicolette when I am by myself? Do I like Nicolette? Or am I hearing Nicolette saying to herself, oh, you don't have your partner. That's why you're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. And that was the pivotal point in the start of my journey. And I had no choice. I can tell you,
Yeah.
loving yourself means understanding your inner child. So what does your inner child wants? Inner child wants attention.
Yeah.
Inner child wants that love, that being. Why do you want to go to the movies? And why do you have to wait for other people to bring you to the movies? I had that notion that other people need to do it for me. Instead, I could do it. So when I was forcing it, I could do it. I did it because I wanted to prove to people that, oh, Nicolette is okay by herself. She doesn't need that person. But afterwards, I believe, or I rather found that I want to do it because the little Nicolette wanted to do it, not because I have to do it. And I wanted to prove to people, oh, it's about listening to what your heart is actually pulling you towards.
Yeah.
And then understanding why do I think, when I say I means the inner child, why do I think this way? Why is it that I long to go to a cafe? Why is it that I long to take myself out on dates? It's because I want to be loved. And who else is best to do that? Avik. You can't ask your parents to do that for you, especially with mine. There's hundreds of miles away from where I was at the time. Now I'm right back to my home, my parents' home. And can I rely on my friends 24/7? Yes, they can be with me one time, two times, or they can be maybe 7 out of 7 days in a week. They can be with me 5 days. But how long can they provide that for me? Because they have their own lives to look after. They have their own circumstances that they have to settle and then issues, right? So I started that with understanding what does little Nicolette wants? What does she need? And I started listening to those needs with intention, with love and with praise.
Exactly. Yeah. And in this sense, like, uh, from the listener's perspective, I'm saying, like, many listeners feel stuck after the breakup. So, uh, how do you help people move forward when they feel like hopeless?
Yeah. Hopelessness is despair, in other words, right? It means you're hopeless. Nobody, it's like you're alone in the world and nobody understands what you're feeling. And how I help them, number one, I have to first empathize. I can only help them as much as they're willing to help themselves. So, with that, when I come in contact with anybody who's asking, for my help or just an advice. Or just today, I had a friend who came up to me and said, Nick, I don't need your advice as a therapist. I need you as a friend. Now, that's an I click that switch. You don't look at me as a therapist.
Yeah.
Look at me as your friend, as the friend that you can count on, that you can trust, that we can exchange. Pour your heart onto me, like how I will pour myself up back onto you. For number one, yeah. So how I help, I don't see them as my client. Yes, of course, I need to set up the confidentiality goals, the agreement. Those are formalities, right? But when people come to me, they're trusting me that whatever that they're saying to me, number one, I'm going to keep it a secret, that I respect that. And number two, empathize with them. Because most oftentimes, people just want to be understood and heard and seen. True. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a straightforward answer to the question. And of course, after that, us meeting at soul level, now I understand what you require or understand what you need. So I use my intuition because everybody has intuition. Now, this is to be harnessed. Yeah. And harnessing it requires you to be in solitude and listening to yourself. So I use my intuition and and give you that feedback of what you really need at that moment. And then as you start opening up yourself to me, then we can take that next step. So I come in as a guide because I'm here to help you on your journey. Because at the end of the day, everybody's on their path. So for example, a friend coming to me and sharing their issues and the problems, we'll walk together. We'll explore, report out, okay, and then we'll take the steps one, two, three. How do we want to solve it?
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. And also, like, do you believe that healing yourself uh, should come before seeking the intimacy with others?
Yes, 1,000,000% yes. if I could, if I could, show my toes right now, yes. Because if you're not pouring yourself, if you're,
Mm.
imagine you're the cup, right? If you are empty, how are you gonna pour your cup to others,
True.
right? And that's what happened to a lot of people experiencing burnout because they keep on pouring to other people's cup and they forgot about their own cup.
Like,
And that's metaphorically. So that's the analogy. But truly, if I don't take care of myself, how am I going to take care of the people that rely upon me? My parents, at the time I was working, I had to show up at work as a colleague. And now I have to show up for my clients as a therapist, the person that they entrusted their problems with and the betterment of their mental health with. So I have to now I can go on. Maybe your next question is what are the steps, right? I could I could foresee that.
yeah.
Yeah. What is it? How do you do that? Um, like for me, I have to really take good care of myself. And that means what's the biggest currency? What's the main currency in the world? It's energy. It's not and money is energy too. But it's your energy. If you know how to preserve your energy, even if you're in chaos, in the midst of a chaos, if you could instill that, really go back to divine being that you are and be at that peace, joy, and bliss state, I could tell you, Avik, whatever it is that you're going to go through, it could be as devastating as the news. Yes. But as a human being, if you can be at that space, I can assure you, whatever that you're going to face, you're going to have a clearer mind and you have a better intention, and your heart would be aligned with whatever action or decision that you're going to take afterwards to solve the issue or the situation at hand.
Understood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, great. Thank you so much for sharing this. And also, like, any advice you would like to share with the listeners that will definitely be a game changing for them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As when you wake up, what is the first thing you do? You breathe.
Yeah.
I know it sounds as cliche.
Mhm.
Right now, as I'm speaking, I too was in that position before. But breathing is the most important thing. If you cannot do anything, if you cannot even remember the affirmations that I'm about to say, or the affirmations that you find on the internet, or that you believe that you say to yourself, if there's anything that you can do,
Hmm.
just do this. Breathe 3 times,
Okay.
especially even if you're going up. What I, if I'm in a state of anxiety,
Hmm.
I'm about to speak to you. Just take this as an example.
Hmm.
Or if I'm going up on a stage, right, I'm about to speak to thousands of people,
Correct.
the noise can come and it can crush me. But
Hmm.
those are just the noise outside of you. If you have this protective shield around you
Hmm.
that says, I don't allow this to come and affect
Hmm.
your words and your intention that you put out to the universe, it's already a, a spell. You make it real because whatever that you say happens. It gets registered in the universe and it happens. All the molecules around you, the air that you don't see with your naked eye, they all start forming a shield because you place your intention. I don't want and I will not allow this noise around me to affect me. Now I'm anxious. Oh my God. For example, I'm about to speak, I'm about to give a speech, inaugural speech to thousands of people. What do? Nicolette, you've got this. You prepared for this. You you prayed for this moment. That's also one thing. You got to be grateful. You are there because what? You created your reality. You were there because you asked for this. So first be grateful. And therefore, why did you get this? Because you prayed for it and you're worthy of that opportunity. Like right now, you want to come and you're asking me to be on the show, and I'm very grateful. Very grateful. I prayed for this moment, right? So now I'm about to talk to Avik, and and you're sharing your platform. Thousands of your audience are listening to this right now. When this episode airs, what do I do? I'm grateful that I have this opportunity in the state of gratitude, and I take 3 deep breaths.
Lovely. That's really
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing this. And I would say, wow, what an inspiring conversation, Nick. Um, so, I mean, dear listeners, like whether you are on the path to healing, redefining intimacy, or just trying to rediscover who you are, then Nick's insights are definitely a beacon of hope and the transformation. And always remember that pleasure and fulfillment begin with you. So, if today's episode has resonated with you, share it with someone who might need a little light and love in their life. And do not forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. So, until next time, this is your host Avik reminding you to embrace your worth, heal deeply, and live passionately. So stay amazing and see you next week on Pleasure Principles. Thank you so much.